to the Confidence Igniter podcast, where we help you to embrace change and step boldly into your next chapter. Life's greatest transformations often comes when we have the courage to rewrite our stories, and today we'll explore how to unlock new possibilities and confidence. Joining me today is Catherine Winston, a true example of resilience and reinvention. After 22 successful years as a hairstylist, Catherine made the bold move to become a mortgage officer, helping others to achieve their dreams of home ownership. Now, she's thriving as an insurance agent specializing in Medicare Advantage health insurance for seniors. Her journey is proof that it's never too late to start fresh and thrive in new directions. Catherine Winston, welcome to the Confidence Igniter podcast.
Thank
Woo!
you.
You are so welcome. I am so glad to have you here joining
Mhm.
me today. How are you doing today?
I am excellent. And first, let me say thank you for having me. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
You are so welcome. Well, I know I did introduce you, but is there anything else you would like to add to that introduction that you would love the audience to know about you?
Yes, I was in the beauty industry for 22 years professionally and owned and operated two salons. As well as when I left the beauty industry, I went on to the mortgage industry. I was there for about 6 years. I own 50% of a mortgage company along with one of my sisters. And then I left there and got my insurance license in 2018. And in 2020, I started selling health insurance, Medicare Advantage for seniors. So basically, that's what I've been doing.
All right, all right. Well, that sounds good. I tell you, going from the hair industry, being in the hair industry for 22 years, that's a long time. I mean, a lot of times people be in an industry that long, they don't leave that industry and change because a lot of times they're like, look, I've been in this industry for that long. Like, I'm not about to change. Look, I'm going to stay here till I retire. So tell me, what inspired you to recognize that at the time that you left, that it was time for a new chapter in your life?
Well, I'm a person who is really conducive to change. Most human beings have a fear of change. I'm not one of those human beings. I embrace change. My life has been full of changes. The hair industry, I loved doing hair, and I just loved the whole industry. I loved owning the salon. I enjoyed my clients, but it got to a point where I began to feel as if my clients were attached to me by the hip. You know, it's like when a parent raised their children, and at a certain point, you got to push them out of the nest so you can do your life.
Yes.
Well, that's the way hair was for me. And so I moved, left Illinois because I used to live in Illinois, and that's
Okay.
where I had my hair business. I moved from Illinois to Jackson, Mississippi, and that's how I was able to begin severing the tie. It took a long time to sever the tie because I had
Okay.
clients that refused to let me go.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that being said, did it make it like was it like a challenge knowing like okay, here you got these clients that are like, look, this is my hairstylist because you already know like finding a good hairstylist can be a challenge. So I mean like where did you have like any kind of feelings like okay, I'm leaving, but maybe I should go back because everybody need me or everybody want me. So maybe I should reconsider. Did you ever get to that point in your life where it's like, I want to reconsider and then just go back into the industry?
No, it was, I didn't sever the tie like that. I didn't just cut it.
Mm-hmm.
I moved to Jackson, Mississippi. I had clients that would call me. I even had clients who came to Mississippi to see
Okay.
me to get their
Okay.
hair done. Yes. So it was a weaning process.
Okay.
I used to fly back and forth from Mississippi to Illinois to do
Okay.
clients. So
Okay.
it was a process. It wasn't just a severing
Okay.
because
Okay.
like I said, I love the industry. I just began to feel like I was pent in,
Okay.
and so I needed to free myself, and eventually I wound up uh, selling my home in Illinois, and
Mhm.
that's what really severed the tie for the hair clients because I still had clients coming regardless to what I was doing. It didn't
Okay.
matter.
Okay.
Okay, I
Okay.
was in the mortgage industry, still had clients in the insurance industry, still had clients, but then when I eventually sold my home and moved to Georgia,
Okay.
that's when finally I was able to like sever it.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's awesome because I know a lot of times, like even with myself, changing to taking a different direction. Sometimes it's a challenge because I think when like the familiar, what's familiar to you, like, so not basically talking about you, but like people in general, they
Hmm.
get caught up into what's familiar. So even though they may want to say adventure out and go right, but because they know everything that's on the left side, soon as they venture out, sometimes they get to the point where they're like, you know what, this is just not working, this is just not for me, and they really don't give themselves any grace to learn this new skill or whatever it is that they got to learn in order to be able to really fully step into that new chapter in their life. So when you talk to people that maybe that you find that is saying, like, say to you, like, you know what, I really really want to do something different, like I'm really tired of where I'm at, but yeah, I feel stuck, but I really know what I want to do, and then they start giving you all of these excuses like why they can't do it. What kind of advice do you give people like that?
Well, I tell people first of all, it's all about fear.
Okay.
Um, and that's the reason why when I started off by saying I'm conducive to change, that most people have a fear of change.
Okay.
That's really a real thing. Most people have a fear of change. They're not ready to take on that challenge. And something really, for some people, they literally have to be hit upside the head in order to make a change, you
Okay.
know? And so for me, what I usually tell people is that, you know, you can make all the excuses in the world, but when you're really ready, you
Mm-hmm.
will make the change. You will, when you're really ready, when the universe say it's time, and you will make that change. So normally I just tell them, until you get rid of all of those excuses for not, because all that is fear. That is fear controlling your life and controlling your movement. And if
That
you allow fear to control your life and your movement, then, you'll have the same old.
That's true, because I remember Les Brown. He had this saying that he would say, "A known hell is more preferable than an unknown heaven." And when he said that the first time, I'm like, okay, what do he mean by that? And then I started thinking about it, like a known hell. So, like how you have people that go to work every day, they hate their jobs, It's like, I can't stand being here. And you're like, well, why you here? Because it pays the bills. Okay, but you just said you don't like it. Nah, I know it's miserable, but I got to get through it. But then it's like, but, and then you ask them, okay, like, do you know what your gift or your talent is? Yeah, I know, but it doesn't make any money for me. Yeah, it's because you became comfortable in this known hell that you've come to know, yet you don't like it, but the unfamiliar.
Yeah, and they haven't given their gift a chance. In
Yes.
order to succeed at anything, you have to give it a chance. You have to put you got to put some elbow grease in order to get some elbow grease out. You can't get something out of the pot if you don't put nothing in the pot.
I like that. Don't
Yeah,
put nothing in, you ain't getting
you
nothing
you ain't
out.
gonna get nothing out. That's just the bottom line. You ain't gonna get a
Look, I'm
thing out.
hungry. You ain't put nothing
Yeah.
in the pot, did you?
So, so that's one of the main reasons why um, people stay stuck, because, as you just said, the known hell is a lot easier to deal with than the unknown heaven. But if you step out into the unknown heaven, just look at how beautiful your life could possibly be. The possibilities are endless if you just take the chance and move out there. But if you don't, then you're going to be miserable. And guess what? It costs to complain to me. So if you want to complain, I charge you $25 an hour.
Well, you know what I always tell people? I be like, you know what? I'm sorry, the complaint department don't exist in this building anymore. It's 3 floors in this building, and they said that the complaint department was on the 4th floor, so they must have moved out right along with the floor. Okay, but but I really understand what you're saying, because like, and I can really identify, because for many years I would say, like, I wanted to do a podcast, I wanted to have my own talk show. And and I would listen to people tell me, oh, it's not that easy, you got to have this, you got to have that, you got to, and they just went through the whole gamut of everything. Have you ever been on a podcast before? I mean, like, literally. And one thing that I've learned is that when you listen to people versus listening to your inner spirit and moving forward, you can find yourself sitting on the sidelines for a long time. I mean, the game will be done ended. Everybody be done left the stadium. Okay, the football team done already won the game. You still sitting there. It's midnight. Talking about it's hard to leave. I can't get up out of this place. I just can't do it. But one thing I will say is I had to step out. So, you know, uh, unlock that next chapter. I had to unlock that next chapter, because for me, it was more like, okay, at some point my life is going to end. What kind of impact would I like to say that I've left behind, or how would I like to be remembered? The person that was too afraid to, step into that next chapter and make that journey. And that's one of the things that I really love about your story, because your story, you're like, okay, hey, no, this is my next. I'm moving on to my next. And it's not. It doesn't seem like. And I'm not saying, every time you move to your next chapter, it was smooth. It could have been, but even if it wasn't smooth, obviously you did not, bow down and say, you know what, okay, I'm just not gonna do it.
well, there was a couple other chapters in my life that literally I've forgotten, because when you said you started a podcast, I used to have a radio show, and it was called the Jamaica Funk Show,
Yeah.
with KT, and I did a lot with it. But I actually fell over into the radio show. It's just something that happened out of the blue. I went to a open house for a radio station, And I got into a conversation with two of the DJs, and they liked me so much they offered me a show. So I
Awesome.
wound up having the Jamaica Funk Show. And I did it for about 5 years, 5 6 years. I did the Jamaica Funk Show. Um, but the one thing I've learned, and that is, I'm a free spirit. I go with the flow. Okay,
Mhm.
I have learned that when it's time to change, you got to go with the flow, because sometimes change is going to happen regardless to whether or not if you go easily or kicking and screaming. It's your choice.
Right.
But with me, I go willingly because it's a lot easier. The road is a lot less bumpier when you go willingly versus resisting. When you resist, it's like they say, what you resist persists. It's
Yes.
going to happen anyways. So just do it. That's the best thing. That this is my best advice. Is if you are tired, and I mean tired of your life, and not being able to live the way you want to live or do the things you want to do. Because just give you a little bit of background about me. I'm a high school dropout, and I have some college in my background. I've I went to beauty school. I mean, I've done a lot to be a high school dropout. Okay, things that people said that I couldn't do, I've done, and I've done them because they said I couldn't do it, and I had to prove to myself that I could, and the rest is history. And the one thing I've learned with my life, when I'm ready to do something, I have to just do it. I can't sit back and say, oh, I really want to do this or I really want to do that. That doesn't work because it becomes a repetitious conversation that never amounts to anything. And in my life, you know, I don't want to be subjected to the economy. Okay, there are people who love being subjected to the economy and the prices in the grocery store, and they can't buy this and they can't buy that, and they got to pick over this. That's not the life for me. My life is the kind of life when I go to the grocery store, I buy what I want. If there's something there that I want, I buy what I want. If I go shopping and there's something I want, I buy what I want. Okay, I don't get stuck into the economy and what's going on in the world, because that's the world. That is not the real life over here.
Ooh, I like that
Yeah,
girl. You
yeah.
like you was
Well,
about to preach, wasn't you? Talking about that's
yeah.
the look. I like. Well, I'm sorry, I had to jump in there. Okay, I like, but what you say? That's the world out there. That it's not the real life right here. And you know what? I like that. I really do because just kind of picking up where you were is that a lot of times that's what happens. We get caught up in that, and we don't realize the very words that we say to ourselves, like we're drowning ourselves. You either killing yourself or billing yourself. And so if your words are the prices, the this, the that, the world, then because everybody has a different world.
Hmm.
Everybody has a different world that they live in, a different economy. And so I really like that. I mean, you like, hey, when I go to the grocery store, look, I'm buying what I want. Look, no,
What's
I'm
the purpose? I
right.
mean, why? Why bother? Why bother go to the store and you can't get what you want because you're limiting yourself?
That's true. That you know what I when you say that, I think about some years ago. I had one of the Benz, And so I'm like, I'm gonna go in here and and I'm gonna test drive this Mercedes Benz. And so I go in the dealership. I had to first get up enough nerve, okay? I got up enough nerve. I walk in the dealership. I was like, I want to test drive this car. And so the salesman, he was like, oh sure. So now we out here test driving the car, and then why did I ask, how much does it cost to fill it up in gas? The salesman said, if you worry about how much it's going to cost you to fill the car up in gas, perhaps we should just drive right on back and you go get in your
Yeah.
car and leave this one right here. You better believe I never asked that question again. Because it's the thing, if you got to ask how much the gas is, I can guarantee you the car note might be more than the gas note if you're financing it, and depending
Yeah.
on the make it, the model, and the make. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you're right. But the other interesting thing about people is that when we want something bad enough, we really want it, we don't even think about the price.
No,
We
we go
just
get it.
we just go and get it. The only
Yeah.
time we start to complain about prices is when it's not something you really, really, really want. It's just something that you feel I gotta have this, like food, because I don't want to, get sick because I'm not eating. But if it was a pair of shoes, a pair of Nikes. Oh, the new Nikes out. I'm not a gym shoe person, but I've been in the mall where you had a long line. I'm like, what's going on? What they giving away? And man said they ain't giving away nothing but a bag with some shoes in them after you pay for them. So this ain't the giveaway line. This is actually the line where you pay and then get. So yeah, but no, it's good. That you kind of brought that up, to say, hey, when I want it, I'm going to get it, and that's the mindset.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to you some years ago when you would say, trust the process. You
You
know.
must. You
Mhm.
must trust the process.
Yes.
That's the only way life exists. Whether you know you're trusting the process or not. Because it goes back to what you just said. When you really want something, you
Mhm.
really want something, guess what? You trust the process of going to get it. You
Yes.
figure it out. Okay?
Yes.
Life happens, you know?
Yeah, and it's and just talking about like the unlocking of the next. A lot of times we say what we truly want, but we don't look at from where you stand in kind of like a race. So if you starting at the starting point and then you got the finish line, there's so much that can happen between there. If you're running a marathon, or just say a 26-mile marathon, so you may say I want to be the first across the finish line, but you got to go through all of the turbulence, or feeling exhausted, or the streets may not be even, or but we never look at all of the things that we have to go through just to get that reward, because
Yeah.
we think that it's just like, okay, I want it, like I dream a genie, rub the bottle and voila, here we go. But you got to go through something. Like you
Yeah.
could have never been in the hair business for as long as you were without going through something, because I'm sure that it wasn't always high tide. Sometimes the tides was very low. you
Yeah.
know Even in the
Yeah.
mortgage industry, you couldn't
Yeah.
have you know been in that industry and helping people to live that American dream without going through something yourself. And even in the insurance business,
Yeah. Well,
you
in
know
both of them, in the mortgage industry, I was in the industry in 2008 when everything actually it started in 2006 when things started going belly up.
mhm.
It's like first it was this bank, then it was that bank, then it was the next bank, and these banks were closing. They were going out of business. And eventually, My mortgage company went out of business. It went belly up. And I had to reinvent myself, okay? Because the mortgage industry wasn't, and I worked for a couple other companies after that, but there was nothing happening. So I had to move on. I had to figure it out. And just recently, with where I work currently, we just went through what is called the annual enrollment period, where where all the seniors and people with Medicare get Medicare Advantage plans. Well, from October 15th to December 7th. It was truly a wild ride. I was so happy for December 7th. I didn't know what to do because I had worked so many hours, and I had done so much. But it was the process of getting from October 15th to December 7th. And it was a process. So it's like you said, anything in life that you do, there's a process. There's a process. You got to follow the process.
That's true. So, one of the questions I want to ask you before we wrap things up here is, and I'm sure the audience would probably love to know, are there any like practices or habits um, that you have? Maybe it's affirmations that you say that keep you committed, when you're stepping into your next chapter. Is there anything?
Um, yes, I have a morning ritual where I keep a gratitude journal. So in the morning, I say what I'm grateful for. At night, I say what I'm grateful for. At least I write it down. I also do affirmations every morning. I create my own affirmations. They are personal to me. Okay, but anybody could step into them. But these are the affirmations I created for my life, and I read them every day religiously. I believe that there is a God, and when you trust that God is going to show up, God shows up, and God shows up in many, many, many ways, many, many ways. You just have to be patient and watch. Just watch the movie, because believe you me, when God show up and show out. God don't play around. Okay?
That's right.
God does not play around. Now, everybody serves a different God, but my God, my God is the bomb.com, and I don't care what nobody say, all right? My God, he makes it happen, all right? So that's my belief, my spirituality, and just writing, putting pen to paper, expressing my gratitude for all that I have and that all is to come. I do that every day, and it just works.
Well, you know what? I agree with you. The power of gratitude. It's so funny that you said that because I just told another young lady that was going through some stuff, and I said, why don't you do a gratitude journey? Because it unlocks so many doors. Like when you start writing what you're grateful for, you start smiling, and like, man, it's like, wow, like, because sometimes and I know this young lady that she would always say, in order to be thankful, you got to be thankful. You got to think about what you're thankful for, because sometimes we'll say, I don't have anything. I mean, I'm always getting the short end of the deal. So having that gratitude journey, or journal is an awesome thing. So, but I want to thank you for coming on today and sharing, some helpful tips of, stepping into your next, sticking to it. And I really, really appreciate you. And I hope this is not the last time that you come on the show. I definitely hope you come on the show again because I have truly enjoyed myself and I hope you did too. Is there
I
any last words that you would like to say before we end our show?
trust the process.
I love it. I love it. We
Mm.
will definitely trust the process. Stay tuned to the Growth.